and thank you for joining us on another segment of New England Veterans Liberty House Veterans Serving Veterans. Today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Dr. Grace Shen, and she is a licensed marriage family therapist working with individuals and couples throughout the Merrimack Valley area. Dr. Grace also received her PhD from the Michigan State University, specializing in marriage family therapy, and a master's degree in counseling from Syracuse University. Wow, it's impressive. Dr. Grace has an extensive experience in individual couple, family therapy with the combat veterans and their loved ones. She's also experienced in working with adult survivors of childhood family trauma, as well as military sexual traumas and survivors. Dr. Grace currently has her own practice here in the Andover, Mass area, and we'll get into it a little bit more. But for now, let me introduce to you my special guest, Dr. Grace Shen. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, rather than what I just read, before we go into all this other good stuff that we have.
Sure. You know, my name is Grace, and I'm originally from Taiwan, and I came here about 13, 14 years ago, and then I was in school, and after school I just stayed here. My entire career I worked with trauma survivors, and about 4 years ago had a chance, privilege to start working with the veterans.
Right, so was it the Department of Veterans Affairs, or was it?
Yeah, it was at the Lowell Vet Center, just down the road of 133.
10 George Street, actually,
yep,
to be exact.
Yes, 10 George Street in Lowell. Yes.
And how long were you there for again?
I was there 3 years, 6 months exactly.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And how was that transition from going from your regular, say, practice to going into the Veterans Administration era, or whole, what word am I looking for? Obviously, a lot of practice from the outside that deal with just regular civilians, obviously is not same in the veteran atmosphere. So how was that transition?
Well, the transition is interesting, but it's liberating. I love being in the VA, working with the veterans.
I could vouch for that.
Yeah, but it's a little bit limited in a way that you have bureaucracy, you have the whole system. It was great in a certain ways, but at the same time, it's also more limited in terms of the being able to serve the family part.
Yeah.
Because in the VA, you have the veteran, then the families can be served.
Come second.
Yes, but if you don't have veteran, then the families.
Correct.
Yeah, and so now I
have your hands tied.
Yes, so now I have really been like really free that the veterans, children or spouse, they can come, or they can come together. Good. Or if they are not married, they they can still come.
They can.
Or
yeah,
veteran and their parents.
Correct.
Right.
And it's a huge part of the recovery of a veteran.
Exactly.
Yeah, huge
exactly.
Part. And I think that if, again, in the Department of Veterans Affairs services, you are limited. Your hands are tied. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I hate to say that, but that's just the facts.
It is. And I understand,
well, I don't.
The way
you do, but I don't understand why it's still like that.
The way I was told was that, because different nonprofit or different government organizations serve different population, and it's serving the veterans. So if there's no veteran, no services to the families. And so, which I understand the reason that they was set up, but at the same time, as our new veterans comes back, and majority of them are young veterans,
yes,
they do have families, they do have spouse, they do have a lot of transition issues, and a lot of times it's the family recognize the issues in order for them to ask the veterans come in.
Correct.
But a lot of times the family members, their hands are tied because they cannot seek help on the veterans' behalf.
Yeah, on his behalf. Yeah, to come in on his behalf if he's not if he's not gonna say, for instance, in my case, if I didn't show up one day to an appointment, then I couldn't just tell my kids, okay, or my wife or whatnot, go ahead, I'm not gonna be there, but go ahead. No, that's not the way it works. If the veteran's not there, then you can't really listen to the family, correct? Is that where
if the veteran has already given the consent, say, okay, go ahead. Yeah, maybe today I can't, but you can be there once or twice. That's, you know, in the vet center we have more flexibilities, right?
Right?
But in the big VA medical center, the flexibility is even more limited. Yeah, and so, and the other thing, as I said, is that, say, for example, say you find something, you see your husband coming home, very different person, and you want to seek help on your husband's behalf, but your husband say, no, I don't want to go. You cannot like pick up the phone and call.
Really?
You can say, what can I do? But the workers, on the other hand, you say, unless your husband wants to come in, there's nothing we can do. They are adults. They need to be consent to therapy.
That needs to change.
And
that
then,
needs to change.
But on my end, you know, now I'm in my own
practice.
Yeah, so I can say, you know, here is the thing, what can we do? How can we say, because I can see you as a couple together. So being a couple, that means I can talk to you about what are the strategies that we can come up so we can help your husband.
Which we'll get into it a little further, but yeah, it's true. And it saddens me that you know, a family member or dependent can't just pick up that same phone and pick up, say, for instance, and dial that same 1-800-TALK, right, number that we give for anybody that's in crisis.
Yeah.
You know, and I really didn't know that part of it, but now that you made me aware of that, I am definitely going to go reach out and talk to some of our representatives about that, because, like you said, and you've been on the other side, and just to go a little bit further, so just to explain is I met Dr. Chen, Grace as I call her. I was going through family therapy myself through the Lowell Vet Center, and that's why I am so glad that you're here, because I know that from the first day that we've met, and I believe me, to the Department of Veterans Affairs, I've seen about a dozen psychologists or psychiatrists or some form of counselors, and when I met you, and I'm a pretty good judge of character, and so I knew that you were there because you really wanted to listen to the compassion. You had the compassion, first one, you have the compassion, but you have the compassion to listen to the needs of others and not expecting that dollar sign behind you. So and that's one of the reasons that I want to reach out and thank you for what you do, by the way, because though you went into your own practice, and good for you, congratulations on that, you were a huge loss to Lowell Vet Center, and a lot of people talk about it. You were. So I'm hoping that some of those clients that you had there could reach you. But to make a long story short, I was there, and I a lot of times when you do come back, as we'll get into it, as the veteran, you have the ego the size of King Kong, and you don't want to go out there and seek for that help, or if someone's telling you you need help, you're pretty much going to be denying it to the end. And to cut that possibility away from the family members, that's horrible. That's one of the main reasons in New England Veterans Liberty House is where I want to start doing things that we can involve the families, educate the families if your loved ones are about to deploy, educate on your families on and what to expect, because you're not going to get a definitive answer from you or me, because situation is going to dictate. But that just so thank you for bringing that up, though, because I will, and I'm one of those that like to knock on representatives' doors and congresswomen's doors and stuff like that, so I will bring it up.
Well, I want to actually go back to comment on something. This is what I always say to my veteran, is that it's actually not about me. And I know the veterans feel that I was helpful. I actually said that actually the honor is on my part. And I'm going to explain this to you, because have you ever thought about the reason at this exact moment that we are actually sitting here and quietly having this conversation? Is because the service members are somewhere protecting us. To allow us to have this moment. So I always felt like the privilege, the honor is actually mine. And then every single day when I'm walking into the office, I always feel so privileged and so
Humbling.
honored.
Very humbling.
Yeah, and it's just a very humble experience knowing the reason that I'm sitting here quietly, comfortably, not worried about the bomb went off outside.
Yeah.
It's because the person who sits in
It's in front of you.
that he served,
Made that sacrifice.
he made it happen for me.
Yeah, but and I understand that, and that's usually in this world there's two kinds of people. I say there's those givers and those takers, and we're a very few of those givers, right? And we don't like to take. We don't like to take allocates. We don't like to take, thank you. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. But if you wouldn't have that training that you have, and you wouldn't have that compassion that you have, that wouldn't be projected out to the man in front of you. So you don't sell yourself so short. So I thank you for what you do. I thank you for the role that that you've taken in the VA. Even though again it was a big loss for us as a veteran, and I'm talking to you as a veteran, not a host, where I'm very glad that we stayed in communication, because I think that I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that I was brought to you with my family, but now that part of the therapy is done, we stayed in contact, because I still believe that you and I could do so much good for our veterans out there. I can't do it on my own. You know how it is. We never, as veterans, we never took on a house by ourselves. There was always a team of people behind you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're continuing to do so here in Andover. Tell us where in Andover, by the way.
It's in the Brickstone Square in the 28 and York Street.
What's the actual physical address of the location?
It's 300 Brickstone Square, Suite 201.
Nice. And you're there from what days to what days?
I'm usually there pretty much
every day.
Every day. Monday to Sunday, no, actually Monday to Friday, Saturday by appointment, and usually just give me a call or email me, and we'll be able to set up.
What if someone watching now that's interested, and we're going to get a little bit more about the programs that we're going to be collaborating with, but if someone wants to go and see you now, what days are more, I would say, for me, I like to go with days when you're not so busy. But what are the days, and which that's probably in your case, it's probably not the case. But what are your slowest days? What are your heavy days and stuff for people to know? And what are your time frames?
Well, usually nowadays Monday, Tuesdays are slower. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are more cramped for whatever reasons. My hunch is that because Wednesday is a short day in school, so most of parents can come.
It is?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Well, whatever works. Whatever.
And then Thursday, Fridays, couples come out for date night at the same time, come to counseling. That's what I thought. I don't know. And Monday and Tuesday, people are depressed enough.
They don't need you.
They don't even want to see me.
I'm good. I'll wait till Wednesday. Yeah. Well, what is your hours of operation? Or is there any, I mean, in your case, I don't even think you have hours of operation. Whenever they call you, you'll make an appointment and you're there.
Yeah.
Or do you have a set, time, a scope of work? I mean, 8-hour day. There's no such thing as an 8-hour day, I'm sure, for you.
No, usually 9 o'clock until 7 o'clock.
Good. You got to draw a line somewhere.
Yes, because
you have to have time for yourself.
It's important for the self-care part.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
I just need to practice what I preach.
Yes.
I do. Well, thank you. Listen, the reason we're here today is, is because I want to, before I go into that, I want to ask one question of you, because I haven't posed this question to anyone, and I told you I wasn't going to surprise you with any questions, but here I am surprised. My question to you would be, and I'm not too sure if anyone has really the answer to this, so what is mostly the common denominator of veterans returning that surface that PTSD, that has or project that PTSD? What is like the common denominator that all the veterans that are coming back have that fits that category? I mean, if you had to pick up one, and again, I don't think there's a specific answer. I don't know. I've done some research to see what would be our common denominator. I mean, maybe all the veterans that are coming back that are suffering from a specific type of PTSD spend more time in the actual fire zone, or does it matter? Does it matter? I mean, anybody that went overseas comes back with that form of PTSD or different types of forms of PTSD?
I think it's different in a way. Depends on your job.
Yeah, and that's why I'm sorry to cut you off. And that's why I'm referring more so. You have those that have actually been on firefights, and you have those that haven't been engaged in firefights. But what's that connection that they both have? You know what I mean? Do you know?
I think if you understand what is combat, what combat means is that it's a very spatial situation. So what combat means that you are in a situation, usually to an extended period of time, at least 6-9 months. Some people are a year, 18 months, right? Longer. And essentially in that period of time, your life is under threat. There is a life endangering threat consistently.
Correct.
And then you will hear the veterans say that, well, it's not constantly, we have time to sleep.
Yeah, we'll have a couple hours off.
Yeah, a few hours off. We even had time to go to the gym, right? Yeah. But you know that even when you are in the gym, when you are sleeping, you were never off guard. You never, because you're back of your head knowing something could have happened.
So.
And that life endangering situation, knowing your life is consistently, under the threat, that under the threat, and knowing that itself in that such a long extended of a time, that is the common factors that usually put the veterans to be in danger of the PTSD.
I'm glad you explained that too, the way you did, because it makes a lot of sense to me. When we were deployed, no matter what time it was, whether you were sitting down having chow, or you were sitting in your rack and whatnot, I always had that situational awareness. Even though I was in front of watching a DVD, again, in the back of my mind, I was trying to hear different noises that might sound different that I heard before, and so that I could get up and check.
Yes.
So with that said, I need you to explain, is because a lot of people that are watching now are parents or siblings or cousins or nephews, whatever they're watching. That's the part that people don't understand, that when you come back, you can't turn off right away.
No.
And it takes. To me, I've been out, from the first Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and here I am. At come nighttime, I'm like still super hyper vigilant. So and I try to explain that to people, and they look at me like, well, that happened 15 years ago. Well, no. So why is it that you just can't turn it off that fast?
Well, so let me. The best way I try to explain to the family member is that if you think about rubber band. Right? You put a rubber band in a really, really stretching out for an extended period of time, and you say, well, now I took it off, but the rubber band is still this big.
Extended.
Exactly. It won't go back. The only way it goes back is that if you put this out, you probably wrap something, right? Like maybe say 2 seconds. You take it out, then the flexibility is still there, right? It comes back. But if you wrap it into a big package for extended period of time, the bigger the package, the longer you put that rubber band, the less likely that rubber band will go back. It's going to
take its form back.
Exactly.
So you telling me now that well, I'm a living proof, but that it's the situation or a serious combat situation that you experienced obviously is never going to go away. I mean, it's going to stay with you one form or another. So what I'm trying to get at is that to explain to the families is that that's not going to go away. Plain and simple, and we just need to find different avenues, different approaches, and other, engaging parts to be able to help soothe that or work with, and not try to tell the individual, that's 15 years ago, and you should be okay by now. Because I think that no matter what type of services are out there to help you, that's not going to go away.
I don't think it's ever, how should I say that? I don't think it's going to go away. Away means almost like a cold or flu go away, right?
Yeah.
And then that even it's like a flu, the virus is probably...
It's still lingering.
Exactly.
Yeah, still lingering.
Right. So it's about what's the definition of going away. What does that mean? But I think it is important for the family member to understand is that this person has experienced extremely unusual and unique situation that is so unusual and so unique.
Sure.
that there is no way this person can just cut it off and turn it off.
You can't.
No, you can't. You might find different ways to
cope with it.
Yeah, to switch on, switch off. You might, find a switch or build a switch. But
that's when you come in with helping us to deal with or teaching us different coping mechanisms. Because even though that what you're saying is that switch on and off, it's not gonna, you can't turn it off, and you're not gonna be able to turn it on. It's there.
Yeah.
We just be able to help with different coping mechanisms. And I think that those coping mechanisms not only should be taught to the veteran, I think that is so crucially important to be taught to the entire family.
Especially when the families, I remember working with this veteran and his wife. He deployed like 5 times, right? And his wife said, like, we had a conversation, and then the wife said, I wish you would have told me this. The veteran said to her that, no, we don't. There is a reason we won the war somewhere else, so you don't know. Why would I want? Yeah, why would I want to tell you?
Yes.
And she said, if I could have known this earlier, if I could have sit in here with you earlier, when we were at home, I would be more patient. I wouldn't take things personally.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't reacting. And then when I'm not reacting, it's much easier for you to calm down.
Correct.
But when I'm reacting, you reacting, then our house is in World War number 365.
Yes, yeah, 100% right. And that's, again, issue with myself. Because there's things that I wish some of my family would have probably went through with me, and I'm not talking about the combat situation, because I did it so that they don't have to do it. Right?
Exactly.
I did it so that my daughter doesn't have to do it. Right.
Exactly.
But I wish that they would have taken the time really to understand me versus prosecuting me sometimes.
Exactly.
So not prosecuting, but maybe just saying, "Oh, this guy is just a nut. That's him, and he's a monster," which I've got that plenty of time from some people. And it's really not intentional, is that the way you come at me in the situation that we were always in, I was always ready to fight. I was always ready in a second. I didn't let my guard down, because if you did, that's when you came back in a body bag.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what's happening back here. So now, as veterans, as military men and women, we're taught to take orders, right? And you execute that order when you give it. So when you come back to the States, in my case, and I say, for instance, to my kids, hey, go pick up your shoes, something simple, right? And she'll come back and say, well, I'll do it in a second, Dad. Let me do it. I'll react like, no, I just gave you an order. Execute now, right? And that's where the clash comes, right? And that's why I think, again, it's so important that people understand that obviously PTSD is all forms of PTSD, including non-combat PTSD.
Yes.
Let's get that out there too, because there's a lot of people that I know that are civilians that are suffering from one form of PTSD or another as well. So we have to recognize that. But combat PTSD, military PTSD, there's so many forms of it. But if you don't educate yourself, and then you're just off the bat coming back and saying, "Oh my God, he came back different," like, really? of course he's going to come back different. So now, like, you're going with your patient, like, I wish you would have told me this. I wish you would have done. Well, you know, there's no book that they give the families before you leave to combat. Hey, read this. I wish there was, to be honest.
Not only that, you have to understand this, what I said specifically with the state of Massachusetts. We have so many guard reservists in this area. Unlike in South, you have base, big base.
Big, yes.
So the community knows what's going on.
Yes.
But here, you have so many.
It's sporadic.
Yes, and then veterans or service members come back home, not going back to base. They go back to their family, and their family have no idea what's military culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then the veteran goes back. They spend, you know, entire year in the training, in the combat. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, they are back in the community, where had no idea what the veteran went through.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so now it was a huge adjustment.
For everybody.
For everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the veteran itself. It's just for everybody. And when you don't have that as a veteran speaker, if you don't have that support, what do? You just like run away from it. Like, all right, I don't need to deal with this. Get away from me, or make things worse.
Yeah, and
make things worse.
And the sad thing is that I said, when you were deployed, or when you were in the combat, or when you are living in a military community situation, you know you have, everybody has your back. You have everyone's back.
Yeah, everybody has guns. Everybody there have guns, grenades, and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, to be honestly, I feel when I was in theater, I felt more safe in theater than I do here in the States. Because I'm totally serious. And I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Everybody,
you know?
because
I'm not the only one.
You know, everybody knows that if something would happen, I react slowly, the other person will react faster than I am. So we always have someone else back.
Yeah.
But here, everybody's slower than you are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not saying anything negative or bad against you.
No.
It's just the training. It's just the training that you were taught puts you at that vigilance level versus an average citizen that's going to be like, I would go to the mall, and the first thing I'm doing is making sure all the grounds are clear for me. Mm-hmm. If I see a package that's there, I'm walking the other side. Mm-hmm. Even though it could be a little box that's just empty, I don't know that. Mm-hmm. But that's just like your subconscious mind before you get to it, right? An average person, like my kids, right? My girlfriend, whatnot, they'll walk right by it. Mm-hmm. Many times, I go to places with them, and you see me always doing like this, or I'm doing this, or I'm like, hold up, and then I'm checking, or before they sit down, I check that. It's like, that's where you're at. That's where that hypervigilance at. I just put in, it's been years since I've been back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Few years since I've been back from Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I just finished, first of all, I just finished installing, like, I have like a 1,200 square foot home. It's not that big home. And I just put in like 13 cameras. So there's no way, there's not a square inch of my house that you're going to creep up and I'm not going to see you. People be like, don't you think that's overkill? For you. But let's keep the serious part of it now. That helps me sleep better.
Yes, it gives you peace of mind.
Exactly. And for everybody else, I'm a nut for putting 13 cameras in my house. But it's not a joking matter. No. It's not a laughing matter. Not for me. For you it might be, but not for me. You know, I have my alarm system. I have my my camera system, and I need my dog. Right? Because that's, to me, is my first line of defense. So that's what I want you to understand, is that there's a lot of stuff that your military member, man or woman, are doing right now to secure themselves, feel themselves in that. I don't think they'll ever be in a comfort zone, because I don't think that's ever going to happen. But there is help out there, though, to be able to lessen those. And you're a perfect example as to why you're here. So if there's one thing that a veteran could do right now to try to comfort that level a little bit more, what would it be? What would you say would it be? Did I put you in the spot?
No, I remember we had this conversation.
I think I did.
But I think I always ask the veteran, let me ask you this question, and I'll answer your question.
Okay, so you'll be the host.
No. I always ask veterans this question. I said, if I was a newbie in a basic training and you have to teach me how to shoot straight, what would the number one secret in terms of shooting straight?
Your breathing.
Yes, why?
Well, it relaxes your whole body. Your blood pressure goes down, your heartbeat goes down. You're able to let go of a shot at the moment that you're more relaxed versus you're more hypered.
Exactly. So if there's one thing, so to answer your question, one thing for the veteran to do is to breathe.
Breathe. Yes, now that you said, I remember that I asked that question about a year and a half ago. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it's cool. Like a lot of people keep telling me, try meditating. I'm like, I have a hard time falling asleep, let alone going into a room and close my eyes, not knowing my surroundings for 15, 20 minutes. No, that's not working. So now going back to try relaxing, what kind of just give us some
You don't necessarily need to close your eyes. It's very simple. If you cannot close your eyes, that's fine. Just find an object and focusing on that. Opens your eyes, just focusing on one object, okay? Because when your eyes wander, your minds wander. And when your minds wander, that related to the racing thoughts, that always goes to our mind. So it's very simple. You just focus on one thing that you can see.
A glass of water.
A glass of water, a pen, or the eagle up there.
Yeah, the eagle that's flying.
Just focusing on one thing, and then just stare on it, and you just keep focusing on your breathing. And a lot of times I tell the veteran, try to remember that 1 to 2 ratio. When you breathe in and breathe out, that's 1 to 2, because when you breathe out longer, it calms your heart rate down. Exhale longer. Because if you remember when we exercise,
we did. I didn't do very well, did I?
When we exercise, say if we are out running or something, that we actually breathing harder. Right, we try to breathe in more oxygen because our heart rate is coming so fast, right? So in order to calm our heart rate down, you exhale longer.
And this, in fact, just calms your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you don't even need to do long. If you could just do this 1 minute, just 1 minute, set a timer on your cell phone, 1 minute, and you just do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You just count this. Do 10 times. That's 1 minute, and focusing on one object, you feel so much different.
Well, I gotta tell you, I was very skeptic when you first asked me to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is she having me to breathe? Like, I'm breathing okay. But then you explained in detail like you are. And I was like, all right, I'll bite. I'll try it. And so I tried it, and obviously in the office, when we were in the office, it didn't go so well because I was looking and looking at my daughters at the same time. But then I came and told you, I think, afterwards. I've been doing it in my office. And again, it's not like, oh my God, I'm cured, or not like that. But it does for that brief moment. Relax you and brings you back to earth for a couple of minutes or so, and it is refreshing, really.
Yeah, and then I like the reason I always ask the veteran. Actually, the reason I asked you if you have to teach me how to shoot straight, it was actually very interesting coincidence that I know about this physiology and then all of this, breathing and so on and so forth. But it was like there was one time I was talking to a veteran, and then he said, like he told me like how much he liked to go onto the range and shoot.
Sure.
You really relax him. I said, tell me why. And he explained to me like, you know, at that moment before you pull the trigger, everything calms.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, that was just like breathing, just like meditation or breathing or mindfulness, however you call it.
Kudos for you for putting that connection together, because you know, that was good to know when that, obviously when he explained it, you were able to connect it, and you were able to explain that to veterans such as myself that were actually engaging constantly in weapons. It makes so much more sense to us when you tell me that way, because once you know, this is how you relax, and as a marksman, that's what you need to do. You need to. So instead of, which is a good analogy that you use, instead of, well, just stay there, breathe easier, count to 100. No, you gave, that was a coping mechanism to me, because now what I'm doing with my breathing techniques, now I'm going back to when I was in the range. Okay, let me just think how I was doing it, you know? And that helps. It helps. Little stuff like that, little minor stuff like that goes a long way.
Exactly. And if you think about when you are on the range, when you are like you know, going through your basic training and you're shooting, essentially what happens is that you're looking at a target, right? So who said that you necessarily need to close your eyes?
Yeah,
as long as you look at the target,
you're
and
focusing.
you really focused, that's all you need. You don't need to close your eyes.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's a good strategy. That's a good technique to use. I think that you know, if you're a single veteran, or you're a veteran that, you know, that's engaged, or spouse, or your daughters, you know, bring the family in. You know, enjoy, do the family thing. I think that the success of a veteran's recovery is, if he's a family-oriented man, the success is going to depend on the whole family. It's just not on the veteran. I mean, I keep always be hearing, well, he knows he has a problem. If he has a problem, he should seek help. Okay, that's fine. We understand that. But I think that you should also educate yourself as to why he has that problem of not reaching out. You know what I mean?
And the other thing is that if you understand, a therapist is only with a client an hour or an hour and a half a week. Who is he or she with the rest of the time is with the family, right? So if the family members knows, I'm telling you another story. I had a veteran and his wife told me that about a few weeks ago, they were on 93 going down to the VA, and there was some bad accident. And then she was the one driving. And then he really see that flashback and really started panicking. But since she always come with him, so she was driving and they stuck in the traffic, but she was able to kind of put her hands on him and then just say, let's breathe together.
That's so cool.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then she was counting, and then her voice become his soothing mechanism, and then he gradually just calmed down. Because she's the one who knows what's going on at that moment.
That's awesome. That's really good.
When they came back and tell me this, I was like in tears.
Sure, it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming because there's not very many people that take the time and do that, you know. And I have veterans that come in through my door that are looking for help and just saying, I just got kicked out of my house. I'm like, well, explain to me why you got kicked out of the house. What happened? Oh, well, my mom had enough of me, or my sisters couldn't deal with me anymore, and that just breaks my heart, because here I am having a kid in front of me that I know he's not a bad kid. He was just put in a situation where he needs to be able to turn down, not turn off. Remember, I was very careful with saying turn down, not turn off the things that are going on in his life. And then you know, when now you break off from that support element, that just exacerbates his issues even 100 times more, because now he's not going to give 2 cents about, you know, well, the heck with it, I'm not there now, and I'm going to go and do something else that just gonna, you know, justify what they're looking for. So listen, I'm gonna get, I don't know how much time I have. Usually they give me a cue. and that's a cue for Altamont, but I think that I have enough time, and we're going to get into some of the topics that well, this is one of the reasons we're here, because we're going to be collaborating. We're going to be doing some homecoming, transition to civilian life. I want to say seminars. What do you call them?
Yeah, I was thinking more
groups.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like a mini talks.
Mini talks. There you go. All right, so mini talks. So we're gonna go rush through this page real quick, and then through these topics, and then we're gonna go hit the second one. So the first one that we're thinking of, obviously starting is on November 3rd of 2015, and it's military culture, combat experiences, and homecoming. So I'm gonna ask you, Grace, just to briefly go through them real quick. Don't give me more than a minute and stuff, so that we can go through, but just a basic topic and idea, so that our viewers could understand what those mini talks are going to consist of. So the first one I just talked about, military culture, combat experience, and homecoming. Please give me a small summary.
I think I would like the veteran to be able to understand, or their loved ones to be able to understand, in the transition process, because of differences of the military culture and the civilian culture, how they might clash. So if you understand a little bit more of each other, then making the connection much easier.
So this is both. You're target integration, like civilian and military personnel.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to the second one, which is going to be hopefully, and we're going to put all this up on our credits here soon. Right after the show. So 12 to November 2nd, it's going to be, the mini talk is going to be PTSD and the impact on combat veterans. Quick summary on that, please.
Yes, just to understand what is PTSD, how they have impact on the veterans' adjustment, and what the other people will see on the behavior. Therefore, if the veteran refuses to seek for help, the family members can help.
Could pick out those anger cues or something.
Exactly.
Makes sense to me. So January 6th, it's going to be PTSD and the impact that it will have on the family relationship. That kind of explains, self-explanatory, but give us a quick summary about that, please.
Yes, because, we are coming out right after the holiday in January. So I would like, and then a lot of times there are gatherings in the family settings that's usually crowd. It's very difficult for our veterans. And the family members may not understand. So you might be sending someone off as one person, and he or she comes back another one. So there are certainly changes in their situation. So I would like the veteran to know how they can communicate to their family members. At the same time, the family members knows how to communicate with the veterans.
Yeah, because that's huge. I mean, I think I still have problems with big gatherings, and I think that's why I've done all the, try to make my home an oasis, because I'd rather spend more time there than I do in the street. So that's going to be a very good topic. So February 3rd, it's going to be PTSD and its impact on the couple relationship, and I think that's huge right now, because I'm in the verge of a separation. Well, we are, and I think it would obviously tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the reason,
a perfect example.
The reason I put it in February, because with the Valentine's Day coming up, so I think
maybe they could rekindle their love.
Yeah, or maybe this will be a good opportunity for them to understand that it's not about the veteran or PTSD. There are many layers. So if you know how to pick it up and then cope it without taking it personally, then it might be easier to navigate through, to have a good relationship.
Personally is the key word to all this.
Yes.
Taking stuff personally. Personally. Just so March 2nd, it would be PTSD and suicide prevention. As we all know in this country, there's about 22 veterans a day that take their lives, which is just heartbreaking, waiting for any type of services to be provided for them. So I think that this is going to be a really good topic.
More importantly, March is actually a mental health awareness month, and the suicide rate in the country, civilian or veteran side, it's actually the highest in March.
Really?
Because people are coming out from the holiday, daylight gets longer, but they still feel not good. Not only not good, very bad. And then so the daylight gets longer and I'm still feeling really, really depressed. then that's when the suicide rate goes up. And therefore, it's very important in March that we really increase the awareness. Yes. So people knows that reaching out to the other person.
So I gotta commend you on that, because you did your research. Well, obviously, you did your research on this very well, and we're looking forward to start this. We really, really are. But it's not going to be a success if you're not there. So you need to go out there and spread the word. If you want to bring a cousin, your nephew, or your mom, your dad, your wife, your kids, I mean, you bring as many people. I think I could accommodate in the place that we're going to have it. I could accommodate up to 60 people in one room. So, and if we need more space, we'll knock down our wall and we'll make some more room. But we need, come on, I'm going to be there. I'm not just going to be there as the executive director of New England Veterans Liberty House. I'm going to be there as part of the veteran, because even though I'm a veteran and I've been through all this, and I still need, some help, and I'm still battling my inner demons. But stuff like this, it's always good to go to. So find it out there. And I'm speaking directly to your OEF and OIF veterans as well. I know that we seem that right now you might not need someone to talk to or express these, but just go up there and just listen. She has obviously a lot of information. I'm sure we'll have some literature or whatnot there that you can take forth. We'll have someone in sight as well that we could help you in the event that you need some extra help. So please, we're looking forward to it. We're going to be posting this up. Look for us on the social media. Look for us on our website, www.nevlh.org, or you could just pick up the phone and give me a call at 978-258-2331. So I am very much looking forward to this. I really am. I think this is going to be good, and this is good. I think that's something that I would like to continue, and we'll see how it goes. But I think we're laying the foundation.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's really up to everyone now.
Yes, and can I also add that if you are a civilian, you're interested in this topic because you have loved ones, please do join us.
Yes.
Because our veterans rely on, when they were in the service, they rely on their battle buddies, combat buddies with them.
Battle buddy, good point.
Yeah, and now they don't have that person in the civilian life, and you can be that person for them. And you could be that person, the reason.
A mentor, a mentor, a sponsor.
Yes, you could be that person that stopped them from hurting themselves.
And it might not be, it might not be someone that you're related to, because
exactly.
I have a friend that, she's like my confidant. I mean, she's not a family member, she's just a friend, but she knows probably more what happened to me during my tours than my own family do. So if you can't, if it's something that you don't feel comfortable, or you don't think they're gonna receive it or observe it or be supportive, then reach out to civilian, a friend, another friend, or someone like that. But you have to be there. The first step is because listen, I don't want to be vigilant for the rest of my life. I want to have situational awareness, yes, because that's always good to have anyway. But do I really want to come home and search my home 100 times? Do I want to search my car another 100 times before I go? That stuff that I don't want. I'm working on that, and everybody that I know is working on that. So come to these classes, man. It's crucially important for you. So we're going to get into real quick. We're also going to be doing, we had at one point, and I think I spoke to you about it, we had vet-to-vet groups that were peer-led. There was no clinicians, and I think that it was a booming success at the beginning, but it faded out. And I think it faded out because we had to follow doctrine from someone else. And a lot of the topics I know was it was taboo in this meeting to talk about any of your any of your battles, any of your actual firefight battles where you're shooting and shooting back. And I could understand that, to respect that to a certain level, because of other people in there might have some type of reaction or might type of flashback to it and might react differently. And we don't have, we didn't have there at the time a certified nurse or whatnot that can help in the event of an anxiety attack. So I can understand that. But I think, in my view, it started dwindling off because we couldn't talk about stuff. You know, it was more, okay, well, how are you doing this week? And what did you do last week? Oh, yeah, so how was your meals? Was your meals okay? Yeah. Well, that's great and that's fine to share stuff like that. But I want to go to a meeting where I know I could say, this happened to me, and if anybody here had that same experience and you're able to cope with it, teach me now how to cope with it, right? So we're gonna go again, and it's gonna start vet-to-vet support groups, okay? Now we're gonna start doing this here hopefully shortly. It's gonna be, we're gonna do it once a week, which is again, instead of the vet-to-vet meetings, it's just going to be vet-to-vet support group, which Grace brought up. And this is about not leaving anyone behind. So talk about your execution in regards to what's in your mind when you send this to me, a little bit of what you think you would like to see in this group, and what do you expect out of it?
Well, what I expect out of it is that it goes back to the same ideal that to have your battle buddies with you. When you were there, you rely on each other to have your back to bring you home. Now you are home. You want to support each other to get to a better place, to go through this adjustment together.
Tough adjustment.
It is, and you need to have someone who knows the difficulties that you're going through. You need to also to have someone to reminisce about, oh, remember how funny it is when we were there, right? That someone who knew your experience. That's what I'm looking for. So the ideal would be that the veterans can come in. If today you decided there's nothing I really don't want to talk about, you can sit but provide support.
Listen.
But if you feel like you have some burning desire, you need to talk about it, you can share your experiences.
Yeah.
Right?
Good for you.
Yeah, and then other people can, I'm just a facilitator to facilitate people to come into a common theme. But it's the veterans, their shared experiences to help each other get through that meeting and get through
let me just throw, let me play the devil's advocate for a second. I'm not usually pretty good at doing that. So in a situation like that, someone comes in there and starts talking about a situation that's kind of gruesome. Would you allow that veteran to continue, or would you deflect and redirect?
Well, what I would try to say to the veteran, and I think there will be an important group rules, is that you don't want to describe all the gruesome details, because you don't know who is picking up and going home without support, right? So you might be, the other person might pick this up and like maybe in the meeting that person was okay, but when he went home, then something triggered and there was nobody there to support him. So it is very important. We had the group rules. You can say there was this bad combat and then something bad really happened and then so on and so forth. Okay, but you don't want to go through the details, how many fly comes in, how many bombs, how many, the details.
Sure, there's limitations, there's some type of limitation.
That you don't want to have those details, but you can certainly share. More importantly, it's not, the details are important, but most important thing is the impact on you today. That's what we want to know. That's what we want to share. Because we couldn't go back to 2 years, 10 years ago. But what happened to you? How are you feeling today? The impact on you today. The whole group here, we can do something about that.
Sure. It's like that chain, man. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, Grace, listen, with that said, I have to cut it down. We just got the time that we're running out of time. But before I want to leave you, I'm going to give you a couple minutes on that camera if you wish. Tell them what you are and, your telephone numbers and, so then after that we'll come and we'll close it for today. So your address, your phone number, your website, all that other good stuff.
My phone number is 978-482-7480. Again, 978-482-7480. And my practice is in Brickstone Square, 300 Brickstone Square, Suite 201 in Andover.
Do you have a website?
Yes, it's drgracelmft.com.
Well, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence at Grace. It's always been a pleasure. And I could vouch for her service, man. And I don't very vouch for very many people, but thank you very much for being here. I'm looking forward to working with you. And again, before I sign off, every time I sign off, I'll just go and tell you guys out there to go out there and make a difference in someone's life today. Thank you for joining us.